Hello and welcome to a quick overview of Excel Tutorial 2 for K201. In this tutorial we will focus on formatting. From the concepts you remember that editing and formatting are two concepts for modifying a document. Editing means changing the content, formatting means changing the look and feel. The first thing we'll do is the foreground colors. So in Office 2007 you can apply multiple foreground colors to cells. So let me go and change the font size here, and we'll start with a bluish foreground here. And now if I double click and highlight parts of the text, I can apply a different color to it. Okay, so I can continue to do that as long as it just highlight a different section, then choose a different color, highlight a different section, and choose a different color. Okay, then I press enter. There we have it. Next, let's take a look at the background image. If we go to the page layout tab, there's a background button, and we can navigate to the folder where the images are. Choose the image that we want in the background. Click insert. There's the image, and you can see here the image is repeating to fill the whole worksheet. And in the grid lines here at the top here, we can deselect the view, turn off the grid lines. To add the date, if you're like me, can't remember what the date is today, you can use a function called today. Okay, so with the equal sign, today, open close parentheses, enter, and that'll put in today's date. Next, we'll take a look at a feature called Merge and Center. When you want the text to be aligned within a certain area like this, and this is a good feature, we can click Merge and Center. Now what that does is the cells that we highlighted, B6, C6, and D6, merges those into one cell. So right now if I click right, I go to E6. If I click left, I go to B6. There is no C6 and there is no D6 because they've been merged into the cell B6. Let's go to our quarterly sales. And first we'll see how we can select a non-adjacent range. A non-adjacent range means just selecting groups of cells in different parts of the worksheet that may be of different size, basically. So because normally when you select a rectangular area, and so you cannot always select a rectangular area, because if we are just trying to select the titles, this one, the column titles and the row titles, that's not a rectangular shape. So what we would do is on Windows, use the control key to select the non-adjacent groups, and on the Mac we would use control and option keys. So we start with the first cell, hold down the control or the control option keys, select the second group with the control or the control option keys still held, continue to select as many groups as we need. They all become part of this one range, and now we can apply the format. And that applies to all of those cells. Now the January, February, March here kind of run into the total. It's hard to tell where the separation is. So we'll take those 3 months and indent those. There's the increase indent button. Okay, so move them to the right. Let's also do another merge and center for VR games here. Merge and center. And there we go. Next, we will look at number formats. Before we even put the number formats in, let's go ahead and fill the totals in. To fill the totals, I'm going to select the data, one extra row and one extra column, because I want the row totals to go here and the column totals to go here, and I want the grand total at the very bottom right corner. Now if I just, with that area selected, if I click the auto sum button, that will fill in the column totals, the row totals, and the grand total. Now if I wanted a comma for the 1000 separator, then in the number group there's the comma button, but that also adds the decimal places. and we can, this is an increased decimal places and a decreased decimal places. So just with that range selected, you can decrease decimal places twice, takes away both of the decimals. Next, we will take a look at styles. What is a style? A style is a collection of formats. When we click on bold, that's a format. When we click on the background color, that's a single format. Foreground color, that's a format. A style would be a combination of where a boldface with a yellow background and a red foreground with a border on the bottom of the cell, that all together could be considered one style. Now, just so we don't have to repeat the individual formats over and over again, Excel provides us with some collection of styles. Here you can see that some have borders, different background color, different foreground color. Some even have different font sizes. Okay, so these are all different formats and they're named. So this is called heading 1. These are accent styles. So we'll choose the heading 1 style. Now, when you have tables in Excel, there is an easy way to format the tables, and it's called Format as Table. So if I go in here, I have a gallery of table styles. They are grouped. There's the light group, there's the medium group, and then within the group, these styles are numbered. So if I needed medium 20, I would go to medium and mouse over one of them to see am I close. Oh, it's 18, 19, and 20. That should be 20. There it is. So I click that. It tells me that here's the range for the data, and it has headers, which it looks fine. And I click OK. That adds these drop-down buttons for filtering, which we will get into later. So right now, all I'm going to do is just turn those off. So on the Data tab, I click the Filter button, and the filtering is turned off. Now, something else you will notice is that the Table tab up here, Table Design tab, is a contextual tab. So depending on where I am, it either appears or disappears. Okay. So as long as I'm in the table, I will see the Design tab. If I go to the Design tab, I have some options in the middle here to have banded rows or not have the banded rows, the alternating rows with different color. Okay, so I can turn that off, or if I need it for columns, I can do that. If I don't want either, I can turn those off, and then maybe I want the last column highlighted, the totals, or the first column highlighted. So some combination of these can be useful. So here I'm going to just go ahead and leave the last column highlighted. So these are table formats. And if you don't like the table format you chose, you can always go in here and choose a different one. Next, we'll take a look at something called themes. A theme is like a different palette. So the options within that palette are or over the different palettes are the same, but the whole palette has a completely different idea. So themes would be like the night theme, or the summer theme, or the winter theme. So the colors, all of the colors would cater to that particular theme. So here, if I choose the flow theme, then the styles and the colors and the fonts are all still there, but they're just now using a different palette. All right, so we've covered themes. Next, let's take a look at conditional formatting. Conditional formatting means formatting that depends on the content. Okay, so if I wanted to highlight these cells in such a way that the formatting will show me which numbers are larger and which ones are smaller, so their respective size. What I could do is go into the Home tab under Conditional Formatting. I could choose data bars. Now, if I choose, let's say, the blue data bars, then what it's showing me is that this is the larger number of the three. One thing to be careful about when you're using conditional formatting is to not include the total, because the total will completely overtake all of the other numbers. So your formatting will not make sense. So if I go into, and this I'm actually going a step ahead to show how to delete the rules or change the rules. So let me do this again. If I selected the total, that will always be the largest number. So my formatting will not look appropriate. Okay, so the idea is that for this we want only the numbers in the group and not the total. Now, given that if I accidentally did make a mistake and choose the total, I don't have to delete it and recreate it. What I can do is go into conditional formatting, choose manage rules, and now I can adjust my range in here because I don't want the 8th row in there, I only want up to 7. And then I can apply this rule. Okay. Now the total is no longer part of that conditional formatting. Now, conditional formatting is also cumulative. So let's take a look at other kinds of conditional formatting. There are color scales. So greens could be larger numbers than the reds could be the smaller numbers, or vice versa. And also there are icon sets, small, medium, large type of idea, or extra large, large, medium, small, and extra small type of conditional formatting. So let's say if I chose a large, medium, small formatting, well, that combines with my data bars and looks confusing. So again, it accumulates as many formats as you keep applying. They all keep adding to a collection. So if you want only one of those formats, then you would manage rules. First, I've got to select that range, and then conditional formatting, manage rules, and I can remove the one that I don't want. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and apply it. Okay. All right. So next, we will also take a look at highlight rules. So in this data, I would like to be able to highlight cells based on their value. So we'll do a conditional format, highlight cell rules. Anything that is greater than 1900, I want that highlighted with green. So we'll choose green here. And in the same range, if anything is less than a certain value, and let's make it less than 1200, we will highlight it with the red. Okay. All right, so now you can see that the 1921 is the only number that is above 1900, and these four are below 1200. There is also a top and bottom rule. So if you only want to highlight the top 10 items or the top 10% or the bottom of in the same way, or the average, above average and below average, your options are here in conditional formatting. That concludes the overview for this tutorial, and thank you for listening.